Hey everyone, it's Michelle. In today's video, I'm finally going to be talking about my experience with CO2 Fraxel Laser and the results 3 months after 3 sessions. So I started these sessions back in October 2021. My last session was sometime in end of February, I believe, and I had to wait around 3 months after my last session to really see the full results of this acne scar revision. For those of you that are new to my channel, I have suffered with some type of acne since my preteens, and it's only been in the past few years that I've managed to gain really good control over my acne thanks to topical prescriptions as well as lifestyle changes. I'm 31 years old now. By no means it needs to take this long for you to have good control over your acne and correct your acne scarring, but with my clear skin journey and just the acne I've experienced in the past, it has taken a while. So my acne scars originate from my late teens, early 20s, so around my university days when your lifestyle isn't the healthiest and it's quite a stressful period in your life. I got my first major cystic acne breakout when I was around 18 years old, and then the second one was just after I graduated university. And although the amount of cystic acne breakouts reduced, I was still experiencing breakouts here or there. And because I did not have very good control over my acne, it was very difficult at the time to address the scarring, because I could not address the scarring if I didn't have a good control over what was causing them in the first place. So again, you don't need to take as long as I did to get good acne control, but it's just how it is with my story. I have tried other treatments for my acne scars prior to the CO2 Fraxel Laser, just because Fraxel Laser, it does have quite a bit of downtime, the cost, and it's quite painful. So I tried other alternatives first before settling on CO2 Fraxel Laser. If you watched some of my videos back in 2018, you'll know that I have tried at-home microneedling with a 0.5 millimeter needle. And while I did notice some improvements in the texture of my skin, it wasn't enough to deal with the scar tissue underneath these old atrophic acne scars. And on top of that, my acne wasn't in the best controlled state at the time. So that's around the time actually I started using vitamin A products. I started with 0.1% adapalene. So that was the spring of 2018. Fast forward to the fall of 2020, I had 3 professional microneedling sessions. And while I noticed smoother texture, it still wasn't enough to handle the old acne scars and the scar tissue that was underneath. Fast forward again a year later to fall of 2021, I had my first CO2 Fraxel Laser session. I actually did a recovery vlog. I'll leave the link up in the cards or in the description box down below if you want to check it out. And since then, I've done 2 other sessions. So again, 3 total in the span of 4 months. I was told by the dermatologist who performed the procedures to wait another 3 months to really see the full results of the CO2 Fraxel Laser sessions. On that note, I did have PRP mesotherapy and PRF mesotherapy after or before each session. And the reason I combined it with the CO2 Fraxel Laser is because I was told it would help with the healing process. And for me, with the Fitzpatrick skin type of 3 to 4, it kind of borders on both of them. I wanted to make sure that my skin would heal as best as possible. But for this video, I'm strictly talking about the CO2 Fraxel Laser because that is what made the difference in my atrophic acne scarring. So what is CO2 Fraxel Laser? According to realself.com, CO2 Fraxel Laser is a carbon dioxide laser which resurfaces the skin with targeted beams of light. As the first laser designed for skin resurfacing, it's been popular since the 1980s for the rejuvenation of aging and damaged skin. How it works is that electricity runs through a gas-filled tube to produce a specific wavelength of light. The light is emitted in short, concentrated beams which target water molecules and vaporize skin cells. The laser removes surface cells of the epidermis, making way for fresh, clear new skin. At the same time, it penetrates the skin's deeper dermis layer to stimulate new collagen production, which firms and smooths skin over time. CO2 laser treatments can address fine lines and wrinkles, discoloration including sun damage and age spots, acne scars, stretch marks, and uneven skin texture on the face, neck, and chest. So when I got the 3 CO2 Fraxel laser sessions, I got it on my face as well as my neck. However, keep in mind that with each laser session, the intensity of the laser was not the same. And trust me, you want to make sure that the dermatologist is considering the state of your skin at that point in time for that appointment, because the first time I got the CO2 Fraxel laser, I haven't experienced such an intense procedure on my face since the year prior with microneedling, and even then CO2 Fraxel laser is pretty intense. You can actually smell your skin burning. But anyways, the first time I got the CO2 Fraxel laser done, it was done on a higher strength, but the second and third time the intensity did lighten, because the dermatologist did have to consider the last time I had the CO2 Fraxel laser session, how my skin was healing, when was my last menstruation cycle, what actives I was using in my skincare between the time periods. All of these played a factor into the intensity of the laser, because it's a painful process. You don't want to feel like you're being tortured when you're getting it done. So it's a good thing that the dermatologist is considering all those factors. Having said that, just keep the varying intensity levels per CO2 Fraxel laser session in mind when I talk about my results. One question I've noticed that's been pretty frequent on both my YouTube and Instagram comment section was providing the percentage of improvements that I've seen in my atrophic acne scarring since going through 3 CO2 Fraxel laser sessions. And frankly, this is not a number that I can give easily, because I myself perceive my acne scars pretty negatively, which is not a very healthy mindset to have. I acknowledge that. But if I were to picture myself in my head prior to these treatments on how I viewed myself and my acne scarring, it was worse than they actually were. So I did not want to provide a lowballed number. And at the same time, I did not want to highball the number and make it seem like the CO2 Fraxel laser was the end all. It's the only thing you'll need to improve your acne scarring or any type of skin texture that you may have that you find is a problem. Also, I don't think we can ever say something is 100% improved. So that's another reason why I don't really feel comfortable giving a percentage. However, by talking about my results and just providing some pictures, you seeing my skin up close, I hope my explanation and description of why I do think my acne scars have improved and what I see gives you a better understanding than just a percentage, and it helps you make a more informed decision for yourself of whether or not this procedure is worth your time and money. Another thing to keep in mind before I talk about my results is that this is based on my experience. So my genetics, my age, my wound healing abilities, my skin type, my skincare routine. There's all these factors playing in to the improvement of my old acne scarring. So just keep that in mind when I talk through my results, because that is something you will have to consider for yourself as well. All right, now moving on to the results. So after the first session, right away, I noticed that my skin texture looked a lot more refined and all the scarring on my cheeks looked a lot better. My husband, my mother-in-law, my friends, my family on video calls all noticed a difference in my skin and how much smoother my skin got after the first session. So if you have only the time and budget for one session, you will notice an improvement. And for me at the time, I felt like that was good enough, especially again with how painful it was. But now that it's been 3 months since I've done 3 CO2 Fraxel laser sessions, I noticed that the indented scars I had on each side of my cheek in particular has lifted significantly. They are still there, but from this distance in the monitor, when I look at myself in the mirror doing my skincare, it's pretty hard for me to detect. I'll just zoom in the camera a bit. Sure, I see one here and I see the other one there, but it's so much more lifted than it was before. The fact that I don't notice these scars when I film and edit a video, or even when I do my daily and nightly skincare routine, I think is a significant improvement in my skin texture. While they're not 100% improved, like I said, I could still see those really indented ones sometimes, but I really have to look and pay attention for me to notice them. I have noticed that when I apply makeup, usually it's when I apply cheek products that the scarring is pretty obvious because there's just shadow being casted on them more. I do notice that the scarring, especially on the back of my cheeks here, look more obvious. But lately when I do my makeup, I don't notice them as much. I don't find they look as deep. But if I were to place my makeup up here, that's when I notice some scarring. But even then, before I've done any type of acne scar revision, that's never bothered me or stopped me from applying makeup in that area, especially blush, because I just love having an intense blush all across my cheek. Aside from when I apply makeup to the backs of my cheeks, the only other time I notice scarring on my face is when I purposely cast really bad lighting on my face and go in really weird, awkward angles to try to get a glimpse of where on earth these acne scars are. Reflecting back, before I got the acne scar revisions, I was also doing that to see my acne scars. I know they were a bit more visible back then, especially in my videos, but honestly, the only time they looked really bad was when I put myself in a really bad situation, which does not happen in any part of my life. Even if I were to go out to a bar or something with more ambient lighting, my scars never looked as bad as I made them look when I cast really bad shadows on my face. Anyways, these are my cheeks now. While not 100%, I definitely think they look a lot smoother than what I started with. And again, those two really indented marks on each side of my face are significantly more lifted than they were before the CO2 Fraxel Laser. I find those scars are the best they have ever looked. I don't think microneedling even came close to improving them. So with those two scars lifted on my cheeks, that's how I really know that the CO2 Fraxel Laser did a very good job. My acne scars are not the only things that I've noticed have improved. On my face, I've noticed that my enlarged pores look really, really good. Again, not 100% blurred out, there's no such thing, but they look so good that I don't find a need to reach for a pore filling primer. I do like reaching for the Tatcha Silk Canvas one because of how it brightens my skin. But when it comes to the pore filling aspect or pore blurring aspect, I don't really need to use it. And before, I used to have to put quite a bit of translucent powder on my face and really push it into my pores to create a smoother complexion. And I find I don't need to do that with my makeup. I used to rely on those two things on a daily basis, but now I can just put on concealer, blush, and I feel like my complexion looks really good and that my pores don't look really emphasized. With 3 CO2 Fraxel Laser sessions, I've also noticed improvement on my neck area. If you saw my recovery vlog, you know that I got the CO2 Fraxel Laser all over my face and neck. Neck, definitely a lighter strength because it was very sensitive. I noticed that the quality of the skin matches that to my face. And what I mean by that is I have not used a type of active consistently on my neck to keep up with my face's appearance. So I find with the CO2 Fraxel Laser, it really refined the texture and made it look just a little bit more youthful and in harmony with the skin texture of my face. So skin quality on my neck, I find looks really good. And I did have deeper tech neck lines. So my posture is not the greatest and I definitely look down like this when I'm looking at my phone. And I know that is the cause of these lines because my mother and my mother-in-law, both of them are in their 60s, do not have the lines that I do on my neck. Same with my husband. So I know it's me, it's my posture, it's how I look at my phone. So to hopefully prevent the lines from getting deeper again, I'm just going to make sure my posture is as nice as possible and just look at my phone like this when I need to look at it. And again, while the lines have not disappeared 100%, they're significantly improved. So for those of you that are looking for CO2 Fraxel Laser for anti-aging purposes, I think you're going to like what you see, especially with necklines. That is it for the results on my 3 CO2 Fraxel Laser sessions. Now moving on to my overall thoughts on the experience. So the first pro point is that this procedure is exactly what I needed for my skin to see the improvements that I wanted that skincare could not provide for me. If you recalled my low buy guide video, I talked about how I was in a bit of a skincare funk and I just really wasn't happy with the whole skincare thing anymore. And I feel like getting CO2 Fraxel Laser was exactly what I needed to do to see such a drastic improvement. Moving on to the second point, it kind of ties in with the first point, is that the CO2 Fraxel Laser, because it gave me the improvements I really wanted to see in my skin, it solidified my thoughts on what topical skincare could do for me, even the prescription strength type of skincare. I've seen the benefits of applying an adequate amount of sunscreen, layering hydrating products, using tretinoin, using chemical exfoliators. But now that I've experienced various skin procedures such as the microneedling and CO2 Fraxel Laser especially, it's really solidified what to expect from my skincare versus a proper treatment. The more I think about it, what I wanted to see in my skin and the texture and quality, skincare definitely got me to a certain point, but CO2 Fraxel Laser just took it a step further, and I feel like this goes with any other type of professional procedure in general. Another pro about CO2 Fraxel Laser is that it is almost a guarantee that you will see improvements after the first procedure, provided that your healing process goes really well. Like I said, my family and my friends, both in person and on video call, all noticed a difference in my skin just after one session. So again, if you only have the budget and time for one session, I think it's worth investing in. And the third and final pro from getting the 3 CO2 Fraxel Laser sessions is the mental clarity I got. Now, I don't want to make it seem like the only way you can feel really good about yourself is to get CO2 Fraxel Laser and improve your acne scarring. While my acne scars aren't 100% improved, and on occasion I can still see them, it's more so the fact that now when I envision myself, I don't see my acne scars. I don't see my acne. I see me. I don't know if that's what I wanted to get out of the CO2 Fraxel Laser or if that's what I was expecting, but it's a very pleasant pro to have where you can finally see yourself in a more positive light. And frankly, when I look back on old photos with my skin a little bit more textured before I did professional microneedling, the at-home microneedling, the scarring was not as bad as I made it out to be. So for those of you watching feeling like you need to get a procedure done to improve your atrophic acne scars, it's not as bad as you think it is. Because again, I always thought it was really bad. I always saw my acne scars very negatively and more exaggerated. But now that I look back on older photos, the only time it ever looked bad was when I went out of the way to cast it under really terrible lighting. Otherwise, on a daily basis in ambient lighting, it never was as bad as I thought it was. All right, and that is it for the pros. Now moving on to the cons, the first one being the cost. If you have old atrophic acne scars like me and you want a more significant improvement, you are going to need more than one session. Like I said, one session provides really good results, but if you want to take it a step further and see even smoother skin, you will have to invest in more than one session. And that brings me on to my second point, which is tied with the cost, and that is the time investment. So the downtime after the laser sessions, if you've seen my recovery video, my face was quite puffy. It looked a bit bruised. I think it was from the PRP mesotherapy, but the scabbing, the redness, the swelling, it takes some time for that to go down. Now, it can take about 5 days for the scabbing and the swelling to improve, but the post redness, especially if you have a skin type like mine, will last for quite a bit. So imagine you had to do this procedure 3 times and go through that downtime process 3 times. By the time I had my second one done, and I work from home too, I was already getting restless because it was kind of annoying to have to stay inside all the time and just deal with that healing. Because when I got the microneedling done professionally, the healing time was not as long and as sore as the laser was. Another con, which ties to the second point, is the extensive healing time for those of us with a Fitzpatrick skin type 3, mostly 4. Now, the reason why I say I'm a Fitzpatrick skin type of 3 to 4, and this was told to me by my medical esthetician friend, is because I can get pretty fair in the winter. I freckle. However, once summer hits, once the warm weather hits, my skin tans very quickly. I can count on one hand also in my 31 years on this planet the number of times I've burned. So I'm not a burner at all. I really have to go out of my way to burn under the sun. So again, with the freckling, being really pale in the winter but getting pretty tan and just rarely ever burning, that's why I was told I'm around a Fitzpatrick skin type of 3 to 4. But the healing time I found took around a month total. And the reason I say a month is because the redness on my face did not go away until around that time. If you watched my post-laser skincare routine video, in that video, that's when I used gentler active, some wound healing products, moisturizing products. It's because I was still going through the healing process from my last CO2 Fraxel Laser session. And there's like a redness and darkness around my face. At first I thought it was from the walls in the apartment I was staying at the time because they were red walls. But that was the result of the CO2 Fraxel Laser, and my skin was still going through a healing process, hence that video about my post-laser skincare and making it more gentle. And it did go away shortly after I filmed that video. As you can see, I am wearing a little bit of concealer and primer right now, but for the most part, my skin is back to normal. It's not as dark and dull as it was in that video. But just to keep in mind, if you do have a skin type like mine, the healing time may go on a bit longer and you will have to be careful. And the last and final con of CO2 Fraxel Laser is that it hurts. There is no amount of numbing cream that's going to stop it from hurting. Even when I got the professional microneedling done, that really hurt. When I did the at-home microneedling, that also hurt. So just keep in mind, this procedure is quite painful even with numbing cream applied. You even smell your skin burning off. So yeah, just so you know, it's a big one. Now, before you consider doing CO2 Fraxel Laser, given the pros and cons that I just talked about, I highly recommend that you go to the following sources. The first one is Dr. Davin Lim's YouTube channel. He is a dermatologist out of Australia that specializes in acne scarring. So he talks about lasers, microneedling, subcision, and other topics related to acne. So he's going to give really good general insight into acne and acne scarring treatments that you can potentially get or do at home. The second place I recommend you go to is the website realself.com. That's where I got the definition for CO2 laser. There are doctors registered on that website. I believe Dr. Davin Lim is actually on that website as well. And you can ask questions about various skin procedures, and there's definitions for those procedures on that website itself. And from what I remember, you can also find a professional in your area on that website if you feel like Google is not sufficing in that regard. And the third and final resource I recommend you go to for acne scar revision is an actual dermatologist in person who is actually going to perform the procedure. No one's going to give you a better answer than the dermatologist who's actually going to do it, who's looking up close at your face, here's your history, knows your skincare routine. That is the best person to go to for advice on your acne scar revision. Dr. Davin Lim's YouTube channel and realself.com is really good at providing general resources and also the experience of other people who got the procedure done. But when it comes to yourself and what you need done for your skin, it's best to go to the dermatologist in person. I know this is a very tedious process, but it's the best thing to do for your skin needs. Finally, do I recommend getting CO2 Fraxel Laser? The answer is yes, because it's a guarantee to see improvement in skin texture. However, I would reserve this procedure for those of us not only who have really good control over our acne, but have realistic expectations of what to expect from this procedure, and you just have a good understanding of your skin, your body, your wound healing process, stuff like that. Because if you go into this with really unrealistic expectations, because if you think you're going to get results based off of what a celebrity looks like on their social media, or you have no control over your acne, which was my issue at the beginning, is that I had no control over my acne. You don't really understand your skin in general and how your body just functions with wound healing. I don't think getting this procedure is good for you at this point in time. I think there's other things to address before investing the time and money to this procedure, because again, it does hurt. It costs a bit. You might have to get multiple sessions. So before you invest all that time and money, you want to make sure you got a good grasp on your skin, what you expect, and all that good stuff. And that is it for this video. As always, I hope you find content like this helpful and informative, especially for those of you that also have old atrophic acne scars like me and you're wondering whether or not CO2 Fraxel Laser is worth the time and money. It definitely took me a while to get to this point financially and with having the time. So I hope this video helps you out in some way. Please give this video a like if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to my channel down below for future videos. Please leave a comment if you've also had acne scar revision, be it from CO2 Fraxel Laser, microneedling, or even subcision treatments. That's actually one I've been curious about as well. So if you've had any type of acne scar revision, please leave your story in the comments down below. I'm definitely looking forward to reading it, and I'm sure anyone else watching this video would like to read about it as well. Anyways, that is it for this video. Take care. Ciao.